Welcome to Treasures of Grenada, where culture comes alive. Join us as we meet traditional practitioners, hear their stories in their own words, explore the essence of Grenadian culture. From folklore to crafts, experience our traditions. Join us on this unforgettable journey. Welcome to Treasures of Grenada, brought to you by the Grenada Cultural Foundation.
Today we have with us Dr. Guido Marcelle, one of Grenada's leading scientists. We are so fortunate to have him here in order to explain to us some of the Creole plants that are popularly used in Grenada. Now, Dr. Guido Marcelle is a known botanist, ethnobotanist, pharmacognosist, a chemist, forensic scientist. He is an environmentalist, a permaculture designer, natural farmer, product developer, researcher, owner, developer of the Guido Garden. He's also an author, and at one time he was the leading person in the Grenada Chemist Lab. Now, he wears many hats, as you can see. On the cultural side, he was also an old mask designer, a former athlete, and a cricketer. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Guido Marcelle. And Dr. Guido, thank you for coming. And can you just give us a brief of some of the plants, the herbs that we have in Grenada, and kind of just give us an idea of its use, its purpose, so I would ask you a question as we go along, but give us a brief.
Thank you very much. Greetings to all out there, fellow Grenadians, other people in the region, and maybe internationally. Grenada hosts a wealth of plants that are still known by their Creole names. This therefore makes them culturally significant. And I think that our generations should really know about them, know about their names, and then also know about their uses. Therefore, I will try to introduce you to a selected number of plants. We cannot do everything in this particular program. There are some keywords that one would encounter in the Creole names of plants. I'll introduce you to them, initially. For example, bois. Whenever bois is seen in the Creole name of a plant, it translates to wood, so that will be detailed further. Also, when you see the word caca, it translates to feces. The other one that is very popular too is pois. Whenever you see pois in the name of a plant, it means pea or peas. And whenever you see the word zeb, that translates to herb. So I'll develop some of these as we go along. I would now take maybe individual plants and give you a brief or quick look at their history, their Creole name, their scientific name, and also some of their uses. Very interestingly, the scientific name of plants is always in Latin. So you have the first name, the generic name, and then the second name, the species name. The reason that's in Latin makes it universal. So for youngsters out there or people out there who want to do any research, if you want to go to Google, the patois name might be problematic, but once you put in the scientific name, you'll be able to get the information on the particular plant. Now let us dive in. Let us start with the plant A, albert. Albert, the patois actually comes from all be it. It is called in Grenada mountain black sage. Scientific name, Cordia polycephala. and it is traditionally used or culturally used by ladies for menstrual type problems, amenorrhea, etc. Another significant patois name is Anato. Anato also goes by the name Ruku, Uku, Kuku. So it has many different patois names. The scientific name is Bixa aureliana. The important use of this plant is that it's an accepted natural red dye, and it can be used in foods. It's also used in our oil down. The dye actually is that red color on the seeds. But in products, when you use it, it tends to give you a yellowish color. So it was used to color butter, margarine, cheese, yes, and in different food preparations. Traditionally, though, the Kalinagos and the South American Indians used it in their war paint. And now it is incorporated in cosmetics because it has skin protective properties. It protects the skin from sunlight damage. So that's Anato, and the active ingredient in it is Bixin. Going down the line, we have Bois Cannelle. Bois Cannelle, which actually refers to cinnamon. In Grenada, we have the true cinnamon, Cinnamomum verum, which must not be confused with cassia. Okay? So cinnamon, traditionally and culturally, is very significant to Grenada in the way that it's harvested and prepared. Cinnamon is actually the inner bark of the cinnamomum tree. So the branches would be cut, they would be scraped, and then the demarcation would be made on the wood. The bark would be removed and then put to dry. Then you get those nice curls or quills. Cinnamon is used or has culinary functions as well as medicinal function. Culinary, it is used in a range of products, in porridge, sauces, spice mixes, as a tea. As a tea, it's particularly useful as a carminative, that is to help one pass gas. And also now research is showing that it has good results with type 2 diabetes. So people are reporting getting benefits from using cinnamon tea for type 2 diabetes. So very importantly, we must always be aware of the fact that we have in Grenada the true cinnamon, which is a cinnamon that also grows in Sri Lanka. The other plant on the list is Boacano or Boacanon. Okay, the Boacano is a very famous tree in Grenada. Scientific name Cecropia sheribiana. What makes it important is that it's an early colonizer in times of disaster. But significantly, what it's used are the leaves. The leaves of Boacano are very rich in potassium. Therefore, medicinally, they function, people have reported, of getting positive benefits with high blood pressure. Because of the potassium, it tends to help with high blood pressure. Significantly, culturally in Grenada, there's an observation that has been made. Once there's a disaster approaching, the leaves of the Boacano tend to flip over. So when you look down the valley, you actually see the silver coloring of the bottom of the leaf. That is a response to the lowering pressure when disaster is approaching. And as a matter of fact, culturally, lots of the elderly people use that. They say they don't have to listen to the radio or anything like that. Once they see that, they know that the weather is going to be problematic. Because of its high potassium level too, Boacano makes a very good manure or fertilizer, which encourages fruiting in plants. So continuing with the bees, we have Boisden. Boisden. Culturally in Grenada, people confuse Boaden, thinking that there are different types of Boaden. And Boaden actually comes from Bois de Indi. It's actually an abbreviation for, that's where we get Boaden from. Boaden, the scientific name for the plant is Pimenta racemosa, and it is actually West Indian bay leaf, not to be confused with European bay leaf, which is Laura nobilis. Now, West Indian bay leaf has different properties. Culinary, we know it is very useful in things like porridge, like in corn pop, corn porridge with oatmeal and things like that. Very tasty because of the essential oils found in the bay leaf. But it also has wonderful medicinal properties in the sense that it could be used, the oil from the leaves could be used to make beer rum, which is a very good sapping agent, for the muscles and the joints, especially like for elderly people. A tea is also made from the leaves, which could function as a carminative, help for gas, and also help with cold and fever and things like that. So it has multiple uses. The other significant plant carrying the name bois is bois bandé. Bois bandé, which actually translates banded wood or hardwood technically. It is significant to learn that in Grenada, the plant that is used as bois bandé is Treaures venosa, and it's the root of the plant that is utilized for its, aphrodisiacal properties. It is reputed to have that property culturally in Grenada. Interestingly though, the term bois bandé is generic, and it's actually used from as far south as Brazil right through the Caribbean. What is significant is that the plant in Grenada is different to the plants found in other islands and other countries. Significantly too, the most important part of the plant is the roots. So the roots carry the phytochemicals that produce the effect that is replicated, among, in the the male population. Interestingly too, what has happened in Grenada, bois bandé used to be incorporated in the preparations called under the counter. Under the counter is a mix of lots of different plants, even sometimes including animals like the treff worm and things like that. And each family sometimes have their own bois bandé own under the counter preparations. And even in shops, there would be that special under the counter preparation. What has happened though is that science has brought under the counter to over the counter, and it is now wonderfully incorporated in some alcoholic drinks that are now on the market, like Campeche, developed by the Grenada Distilleries Limited, and Woodman. So science has brought under the counter to over the counter. An interesting plant we have here, Beaumvier, or Beaumvier, which gets its name from an interesting tradition. There was Madame Beaumvilliers from France, who was a famous poisoner during the reign of Louis XIV. So Beaumvier is a plant that we have in Grenada that is actually a poisonous plant named after this famous poisoner from the 17th century. Continuing with the list of plants, we now look at the plants maybe beginning with C. And starting the list is Kakabeke. And Kakabeke actually translates to white man feces. I think it was a descriptive term used to define the fruit. The fruit has that shape. Yeah. Culturally, the scientific name for Kakabeke is Sene bicapsularis. Culturally, children use the fruit as a snack. It has a very sweet taste when it's ripe, and it tastes almost like toffee. So school children always used to be sucking it. This may be in decline now, but that was one of the uses. Medicinally too, culturally medicinally, it is used for bathing children with heats. Very popular among mothers. Once you see maybe children having any sort of skin problems, you would make a bath, boil the kakabeke leaves, and bathe the children with that extract. It's also used for adults too when they have heats. Heats is usually the occurrence of small or tiny bumps on the skin. Okay, so that's where kakabeke is very, very useful. An interesting medication that used to be produced by the pharmacist was kakajab. Kakajab was a preparation that was made from, in Grenada, they just say acifesita, but actually it was a preparation from the plant Ferula aciphoida. It was particularly used for stomach and belly pain. Not ancient times, a few years ago, pharmacists would give most mothers that preparation, kakajab, for their children. Another significant plant is campeche. Campeche, it's a plant, the other name for campeche is actually logwood. And logwood was actually brought to Grenada culturally from Mexico to be used and exported to England to be used as a dye. So logwood provides a dye for dyeing cloth. It has gone out of fashion now since they have developed a number of synthetic dyes. However, in Grenada, the plant is still very valuable because the flowers produce a wonderful nectar which gives some of the prettiest honey. When the bees visit that flower, the honey is a golden yellow. So it's very important, I think, that we do not, cut down or get rid of all those your campeche plants. What is happening as we build more roads and we get into construction? We are removing some of these plants, not knowing that we could be affecting the type or the quality of honey that we may get. Significantly too, there's this other plant which is very popular in Patois or Creole, Caraili, Circe, or we call it Coulipopo. Coulipopo, scientific name Momodica charantia, has many uses. It could be used for bush baths externally as a bath for skin problems, but it also has the benefit of being used medicinally as a herbal tea for helping with diabetes. And in some cases, people have reported that it has helped them with their pressure, their high blood pressure, helping to lower the pressure. Additionally, too, the fruits of the large Caraili or the large Coulipopo is cooked and eaten as a vegetable. Also, the seeds carry a beautiful red color, and those seeds actually contain the carotenoid lycopene, which is a very valuable antioxidant, which would help control oxidative stress and things like that. Another interesting one is cœur de velours or cœur de velours. Cœur de velours translates to sweetheart. It's a very small herb that produces a pea-like plant a pea-like fruit which could stick on you. You know, children use it as a game. The scientific name is Desmodium. Very interestingly, it seems that that type of plant, Coeur de Velours, was the nexus or the concept from which Velcro was developed. You know, Velcro could stick and remove. So children used to use the Coeur de Velours, the fruits, to play games. You stick it on your clothes and take it off, or you stick it on clothes and you could maybe write something with it. You know, it looks like a little pea. So you see this, it's culturally significant in growing up, you know, with children in the villages and in parts of Grenada. So that knowledge becomes kind of very significant. We then move to the plants that carry the name Gwen. And we may have heard of Gwen amber fei or Gwen gran le feliz, which actually translate to seed on the leaf or yeast plant, because some people compare the seeds under the leaf to yeast under the leaf because it looks like little yeast balls. The scientific name is Philanthus nerui, and very significantly, in culturally, it used to be used maybe as an aphrodisiac at times, but research has shown that it's now very valuable in helping with removing kidney stones. And I think a drug has just been developed for it in Europe using that particular plant. The scientific name is Philanthus nerui. So it's a very valuable plant and has traditional and cultural significance. Also, there is Gwen l'église. Gwen l'église, which we call Jumbie bead. So culturally, Jumbie bead. And the Gwen l'église actually translates to, it's just like beautiful bean. It's like beautiful or beautiful, beautiful seed. And we know how pretty the Jumbie bead is. Very interestingly, there is a dichotomy in this plant, in that the leaves, the scientific name is Abrus precatorius. The leaves could be used as a herbal tea for cold, coughs, and fever. But the fruit itself, the seeds are poisonous. So it must be noted that the seeds must not be played with, particularly using it to do craft. And maybe if that needle was to stick the seed and, gets into a person's blood, it could be highly problematic because it carries a very toxic protein known as abrin. This then leads us to Jumbie onion or zombie onion. Zombie onion, Hymenocallis caribea, is particularly used culturally for helping children with asthma. The onion part is boiled and made into a tea, a jelly tea, and this it functions as an expectorant and seems to calm cases of asthma. Interestingly, we know we have lots of different varieties of mango. Now, mango is one species, Mangifera indica, but we have different varieties of mango in Grenada. So when we say mango vert, we actually means green mango. That's the other name, we give to Calivini mango or green mango. And then we say mango dudoots. Actually, when we say mango dudoots in Creole, we are just saying sweet mango. Because in speaking in Creole, if you call somebody your dudoots, it's almost you're talking about your sweetheart or your lover. So when you say mango dudoots, you're actually saying sweet mango. A plant that is also very popular and widely used with the patois name pitibum. Also very popular because we may classify it as our local basil. Um, Pitibum actually means small balsam or small balsam plant when you translate it. The scientific name is Justicia pectoralis. Wonderfully used in Grenada as tea for children, also used as a seasoning. Research is showing, and there are reports, that it is helping or indicative and helping people with cholesterol. It seems to help low cholesterol. So the scientific name is Ocimum campesianum, similar to all the other basils, but this seems to be a local. It's a short shrub, but seems to be very aromatic, very popular, and very useful. One of the fruits we have, which was fascinating to children, children growing up in the rural areas would be hunting for this fruit, poidu. And poidu actually translates to sweet pea. And we know that the poidu come in two varieties. There are those that grow down by the river that seem to be a long pea. And then there are the other shorter trees that gives you a nice kind of, not as long a pea. But the beauty of the poidu is the creamy, milky pulp covering the seeds. And that's what the children, have as the poidu and sup. Now that creamy milk is really rich, very interestingly, in carbohydrates, in fats, in fibers, and also in proteins. So it's a valuable underutilized fruit. Continuing the pois, you may have heard in Grenada, we speak a lot of pois gâté. And pois gâté actually translates to itching pea, or the pea that itches, and that is cowich. Okay. And we know that cowich, Mucuna puriens, yes, is that vine that carry this fruit that looks like a pea, it looks like a tamarind with hairs. And the disturbing part of that plant are the hairs. When the wind takes that hairs, once it comes into contact with anybody's skin, it's a serious irritant. It causes itching, it could cause blistering. What happens is as the hair lands on the person's skin, the tip actually breaks off and penetrates the skin, and that's what leads to the intense itching. What is important is to know that the antidote that could be used for this plant is to maybe use a lot of, brush off the hairs if there are any more hairs remaining, use a lot of soap and water if possible, and you'll have to take maybe a laxative. If it gets into your system, you would have to take a laxative like Epsom salt. Interestingly, culturally, it has been used in Grenada to pull a lot of pranks. People have placed it on, others people's chair or desks and laugh heartily when they end up, because they are itching, they start to scratch intensely. So that is a very interesting one in here. Pois gâté. Another significant one, which functions as a seasoning and also as a herbal tea, is shadow beni, which comes from shadow beni or chardon beni or holy thistle. That's what the name translates to. Shadow beni, Eryngium foetidum, is used medicinally to make a herbal tea that is used for cough, colds, fever, flu, and the like. But also it's a wonderful seasoning and particularly gives that intrinsic or dynamic flavor to seasoning fish. So lots of people use it locally in their fish, and it's popularly used in the region for that purpose. Another tiny plant that is significant that carries the patois name or the Creole name, timawi or marihunt. Timawi is the other name for the sensitive plant, or shame bush, or another name that is sometimes called close your door, man coming. That is a plant that when you touch it, the leaves fold or close. Now, the scientific name is Mimosa pudica, and it's a very important plant in the sense that it is one of the only plants that is sensitive to touch. What happens when it is touched is that water is actually drawn from the base of the leaves and the leaves fold over. It's a protective mechanism in which it exposes the prickle and also reduces the surface area of the leaf. So if there is an insect, say, attacking the leaf, the insect falls off. And if it's something trying to eat the leaf, the surface area is reduced, so the leaf is here. After some time, the leaf actually opens up. In Grenada, culturally, the tea, it has been used in making a tea for tummy problems, usually used as a tea for dysentery. Talking about teas could be made two ways. You could actually make an infusion, which is you add hot water to the leaves or the product, and that's called an infusion. Or you could prepare tea by a decoction. A decoction is where you actually put the plant material, if they are roots or things like that, and you boil it. So that gives you the decoction. Another significant plant in the cultural and traditional medicinal use of Grenada is ven-ven. Actually, ven-ven translates to come. That is what it actually literally means, come. Yeah. And the origins seem to be from the word vervain, or from the French verveine, and that seemed to have come from the verbinia plant. That seems to how the name translates or come down. Interestingly, in Grenada, there are about 5 species of ven-ven. So one has to be very careful if you're a collector of ven-ven. The scientific name for the one that is most popularly used is, which we call white ven-ven in Grenada, is Stachytaphyta jamaichensis. And that plant, a tea from that plant, is known to help lactating mothers produce more milk. It encourages the production of more milk in the mother who is, nursing her, breastfeeding her baby. So it still has a, very valuable cultural and traditional function. An interesting plant that I had an encounter with too, even as a youngster, because my mother used it a lot. I remember drinking a lot of that tea, is Zeb Shepanche, or Zeb Shepante, which actually translates to carpenter grass or garden balsam, or scientific name Justicia pectoralis. Now, this plant is a small herb with a beautiful purple flower, but it makes a beautifully flavored tea. And mothers used to use it, for their children. Interestingly, it also has other functions in that it is now incorporated into products for creams and lotion that can help with cellulite or varicose veins. There's some products actually that have been developed for it, for using that. So that is our famous Zeb Sepanche, carpenter grass, although it is not really a grass, but that's the common name under which it goes. The other one that is very popular, and the name translates to what it is, Zebafem. And Zebafem actually means the woman's herb. Okay, so it is used traditionally for menstrual problems and things like that. The scientific name is Wedelia trilobata, and the leaves have that sort of 3 lobes. That's why it's called trilobata. So it is Zebafem. Interestingly, it produces a beautiful yellow flower, Um, it could also function as a cover plant, for covering over the land, for the land to rest. And in some places, it is actually used horticulturally, growing on the hillsides or little mound slopes, designed in your garden. So the scientific name is Videlia trilobata. The popular one too is, which is popularly known in Grenada, Zeba Peak. And Zeba Peak actually translate to herb that is alluring, a herb that causes pique and arousal. And we know that Zeba Peak, Nerulina lobata, is one of the most bitter plants we have in Grenada. If one is going to make a herbal tea from this plant, you only need half a leaf, and that will give you enough to make maybe herbal tea. The benefits seem to be it's very effective against fevers. And like making a tincture from it in alcohol, a few drops in water could help someone who maybe, getting the cold or getting the flu or getting the fever. Another cultural use, it could be boiled and made into an extract that could be used to maybe remove ticks on animals. Bathing an animal with it, you could actually remove ticks. And this leads us now to Zuti, which is a patro which technically translates to stinging vine or stinging herb. And we know that the other name in Grenada for Zuti is stinging nettle. Okay, stinging nettle is interesting in that in some countries it has medicinal purposes, but in Grenada we know it as an irritant because it has some hairs, and these hairs really contain crystals, calcium oxalate crystals. When you touch it, the hairs actually stick in you, the tip break off, and it actually acts as a needle and puncture the skin. And that's what leads to the intense itching. Okay, so that's Zuti or stinging nettle. And there's one plant, I didn't mention it in order, but Jerry Toot, and that translates to heal all. And the plant that has been given that designation is what we call love leaf or leaf of life. Okay, Calancho penata. Well, culturally, one of the uses, as school children, if there's a young lady you liked, or if there's a young man you like, you would write your name, and you would write the lady's name, and you would stick it in your book. And if the leaf grows, because yes, you'll see new roots coming out on the edge of the leaf, then you would say that you are in business. It grows because she loves it. It has that cultural significance. But medicinally, it is used widely externally for healing wounds or even for preparing a poultice. So you could warm the leaf and you spread soft candle on it and use it to ripen a boil or open up a boil. So that was a quick journey into some of the plants that have been useful, are useful, and with the Creole names in Grenada.
This program was brought to you by the Grenada Cultural Foundation. Stay tuned for more episodes.